The fire alarm shattered the silence. Red lights strobed across the penthouse floor as emergency shutters slammed down over the windows. Security boots pounded toward the executive wing. Elena didn't move. Her hand was buried inside the cleaning cart, fingers curled around a black data drive that did not belong to her. Across the corridor, Adrian Cross stood in the doorway of his private office, jacket off, sleeves rolled, watching her with unsettling calm. Not panic. Not confusion. Recognition. "Don't run," he said evenly. "If you do, they'll shoot first and ask questions later." Elena slowly lifted her eyes to his. "So," she said quietly, voice steady despite the chaos, "you finally decided to stop pretending." Adrian's mouth tightened. "I was hoping you'd never force my hand." The alarm screamed louder. And in that moment, the maid and the billionaire understood the same terrifying truth. This night was going to expose everything. For hours earlier, before the alarms, before the betrayal, Elena Ruiz pushed her cart onto the 48th floor of Cross Global Holdings. She kept her head down. Always did. Polished marble. Glass walls. Men and women who smelled like money and power. None of them looked at her. None of them ever did. That was the point. She wiped fingerprints from a conference table while two executives argued nearby. "If the leak is real, we're finished," one hissed. "It's not real," the other snapped. Cross wouldn't allow it. Elena adjusted her grip on the cloth. Cross wouldn't allow it. That was what everyone believed. She finished quickly and rolled the cart forward, stopping outside Adrian Cross's office. The door was slightly open. That was new. She hesitated. Then she heard his voice. "Say it again," Adrian said, low and controlled. A second voice replied through the speaker on his desk. "Our internal audit confirms it. Someone is siphoning classified acquisitions data. If it gets out, governments will get involved." Silence stretched. "How long?" Adrian asked. "At least 6 months." Elena's pulse kicked up. 6 months meant overlapping timelines. That meant, "Find them," Adrian said. Quietly. The call ended. Elena waited 10 full seconds before nudging the door wider, eyes fixed on the carpet like she belonged there. Adrian didn't look up as she entered. "Evening," he said casually. She almost stopped breathing. "Yes, sir," she replied, accent soft, deferential. "I'll be quick." He nodded, still staring at his screen. "You always are." That sentence bothered her more than it should have. She cleaned methodically, mapping the room with her peripheral vision. 2 monitors. Secure terminal unlocked. Personal phone face down. Desk drawer slightly open. Then Adrian spoke again. "You've worked here a long time." Elena swallowed. 3 years. Never late. Never sick. Never curious. He finally looked at her. "That's rare." She met his eyes for just a second. "I do my job." "So do I," he said. The air shifted. Elena finished the last surface and turned to leave. "Elena," Adrian added. Her shoulders stiffened. He had never used her name before. "Yes." He studied her like a puzzle he wasn't done solving. "Be careful tonight." Her heartbeat thundered as she pushed the cart out. That was the first sign something was wrong. At 11:17 p.m., Elena slipped into the employee restroom and locked herself into the far stall. She reached beneath the cart lining and retrieved a thin device no bigger than a credit card. She checked the signal. Green. She exhaled. "Still clean," she whispered into her sleeve. A voice crackled in her ear. "You're late." Cross changed his schedule, Elena replied. "He's still upstairs." A pause. "Abort if compromised." "I'm not," she said, though she wasn't sure anymore. She ended the transmission and returned to the hallway. The plan was simple. It always was. Copy the drive. Replace it. Leave. She entered the executive archive room using the access card she'd cloned months ago. The door sealed behind her with a hiss. Her fingers flew. 30 seconds. 40. 50. Download complete. As she slid the drive into her pocket, the lights flickered. Then went red. Unauthorized access detected, a calm female voice announced. "Security has been alerted." Elena's blood ran cold. She bolted. Adrian Cross watched the security feeds from his office, jaw clenched. "There you are," he murmured. He tapped his earpiece. "Lockdown floor 48. Do not engage." "But sir," security protested. "That's an order." He shut off the feed and grabbed his jacket. For months, he'd suspected a ghost inside his company. Someone too clean. Too invisible. Tonight, the ghost had made a mistake. Elena skidded around a corner, cart abandoned, shoes pounding against marble. She ducked into a maintenance corridor and nearly collided with Adrian. She froze. He raised his hands slightly. "Relax." She glanced past him. "Move. You're not leaving with that drive," he said. Her eyes flashed. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know exactly who you are," Adrian replied. "Or at least he used to be." Silence stretched between them. "Elena Ruiz doesn't exist," he continued. "Not before 3 years ago. No records. No family. No history." Her hand drifted toward the pocket. He noticed. "I wouldn't," he said quietly. "If security sees you reach, this ends badly." She laughed bitterly. "You already called them." "No," Adrian said. "I called them off." That stopped her. "Why?" she asked. "Because I want answers." Footsteps echoed nearby. Adrian stepped closer. "If you're smart, you'll trust me." She studied his face, searching for deception. "You already know my identity," she said. "So what's the play, Mr. Cross? Blackmail? Arrest?" He shook his head. "Protection." Her laugh came out sharp. "From you." "From what's coming," he said. "The people you work for don't clean up loose ends. They erase them." Her throat tightened despite herself. "You shouldn't care," she said. "I do," Adrian replied. "That's the problem." Security radios crackled closer. Elena made a choice. "Get me out," she said. "Now." Adrian turned and led her down the emergency stairwell as alarms howled above them. And somewhere deep in the building, a hidden timer ticked towards 0. The stairwell door slammed behind them as Adrian pulled Elena down 2 steps at a time. The metal echoed with every footfall, amplifying the danger chasing them. Voices shouted above. Radios crackled. Someone was already questioning why the lockdown order had been reversed. "Left," Adrian whispered sharply, dragging her through a narrow service corridor instead of the main exit. Elena didn't argue. She trusted instincts, not people, but right now his instincts were saving her life. They burst into a dim underground passage lined with humming generators. Adrian swiped a badge at a steel door that slid open just wide enough for them to slip through. Inside, the noise dropped to a low mechanical thrum. "What is this place?" Elena demanded, finally yanking her arm free. "My insurance," Adrian said, sealing the door behind them. "A private transit tunnel. Built after my first kidnapping attempt." She stared at him. "First?" He gave a grim smile. "You don't get rich quietly." They moved quickly down the tunnel until they reached a black SUV idling in the shadows. Adrian opened the passenger door. "Get in." She hesitated. "I'm not your prisoner." "No," he replied. "You're my problem." That made her laugh despite herself, a short, breathless sound fueled by adrenaline. She climbed in. The vehicle rolled forward smoothly, disappearing into the darkness beneath the city. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Elena broke the silence. "You knew?" "Yes." "How long?" Adrian's jaw tightened. "Longer than you think." She turned toward him. "Then why let me keep going?" "Because you weren't selling us out," he said. "You were collecting." Her fingers twitched toward the pocket with the drive. "You don't know that." "I do," he replied. "Because the data you copied never left our servers. You were sending it to a dead relay." Her breath caught. "That relay," Adrian continued, "belongs to a task force that technically doesn't exist." Silence filled the car. "You're not just a spy," he said softly. "You're a watchdog." Elena stared out the window, the city lights blurring past. "You should have turned me in." "I tried," Adrian admitted. "Twice. Both times my requests disappeared." That made her look back at him sharply. "Disappeared how?" "Like they were never filed." Her stomach sank. "Which means," Adrian said, "you're protected by someone far above me." The SUV slowed as they entered a secure underground garage. Elena finally pulled the drive out and placed it between them. If they know I'm burned. They don't, Adrian said. Not yet. But they will, she replied. And when they do, they won't come for me. They'll come for you, he corrected. And me. The car stopped. Adrian killed the engine. They sat there, the weight of the truth pressing in. You could still walk away, Elena said. Hand me over. Save yourself. Adrian laughed quietly. If I wanted safety, I wouldn't have built an empire. He looked at her. You saved my company 6 months ago. Quietly rerouted a hostile takeover. Before it ever happened. Her eyes narrowed. You noticed. I notice patterns, he said. Especially ones that protect me. She shook her head. You don't understand. I'm not supposed to be seen. Too late, Adrian said. I see you. That hit harder than she expected. They exited the car and entered a private elevator that carried them upward in silence. When the doors opened, Elena found herself in a penthouse that didn't feel like a billionaire's home. No gold. No art. Just clean lines, books, and a wall of screens showing global markets and security feeds. Sit, Adrian said, gesturing to a table. She didn't sit. Who do you really work for? She asked. He met her gaze. I was hoping you'd tell me. She exhaled slowly. I don't have that clearance. That's not an answer. It's the only one I'm allowed to give, she said. He studied her face. Tired eyes. Controlled posture. A woman who'd been living in survival mode for too long. What happens now? She asked. Adrian leaned back. Now we play offense. She laughed incredulously. Against who? You don't even know their names. I don't need names, he replied. I need leverage. She crossed her arms. You think you're untouchable. No, Adrian said quietly. I think I'm already compromised. That sobered her. Before she could respond, one of the screens flickered. Incoming message. Adrian turned sharply. That channel's encrypted. Elena's blood ran cold. The message opened on its own. We know you have her. A second line appeared. Hand her over by morning or everything falls. Elena took a step back. You see now. Adrian's expression hardened. They're bluffing. They don't bluff, she said. They erase. The screen changed again. A live feed popped up. Elena's breath left her lungs. Her apartment. The one she thought was safe. 2 men stood inside it, calmly dismantling her life. Adrian swore under his breath. You still think I should walk away? She asked hollowly. He turned to her. No. He grabbed his phone. I should have done this sooner. Done what? Burned the bridge, he said. He sent a single message. Across multiple screens, systems activated. Files unlocked. Encrypted data began transferring to servers all over the world. What did you just do? Elena demanded. I made sure, Adrian said, eyes blazing, that if anything happens to you, everything they've hidden comes out. Her heart pounded. You're declaring war. Yes, he said. And I'm doing it publicly. She stared at him. Why? He didn't answer immediately. Then, because I spent my life surrounded by people who took and never protected. And tonight, the only honest person in my building was pretending to be invisible. Emotion threatened to crack her composure. She swallowed it down. You're going to lose everything, she said. Adrian shrugged. I almost did already. Another message flashed. This is your final warning. Elena stepped closer to him. They won't stop. I know, he replied. And if they take you? He met her eyes. Then I hope you finish what I started. Silence stretched between them, heavy and intimate in the glow of the screens. Then alarms sounded again. Not from the building. From the city. Emergency alerts began scrolling across displays. Market halt. Government investigation launched. Multiple executives detained. Elena's mouth fell open. That was fast. I didn't send it to the media, Adrian said slowly. She looked at him. Then who did? Another message appeared. Welcome back, Agent. Her knees nearly buckled. They knew, she whispered. They always knew. Adrian turned to her sharply. What does that mean? She laughed bitterly. It means this was never about stealing data. The screens changed again. Her face appeared on one of them. Not Elena the maid, but Elena Ruiz, real name, real rank, real history. Mission complete, a voice announced through the speakers. Target verified. Adrian stared in disbelief. You were testing me. She nodded slowly, shame and relief colliding in her chest. I didn't know. Not until now. The voice continued. Mr. Cross, your actions have demonstrated integrity under pressure. You are cleared. Cleared for what? Adrian demanded. Partnership, the voice replied. Elena closed her eyes. The war she feared wasn't coming. It had already ended. And everything she thought she was hiding had been seen. If you're hooked right now, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the ending, because what Adrian does next will change both their lives forever. The room went quiet except for the low hum of servers and the distant echo of sirens far below the city. Elena opened her eyes slowly, her mind racing. Partnership, she repeated. That wasn't part of my briefing. It wasn't part of mine either, Adrian said, his voice tight. He stepped closer to the main screen. You don't get to turn my life upside down and then speak in riddles. The voice responded without emotion. Mr. Cross, you were never meant to be a target. You were a variable. I don't like being treated like an experiment, he snapped. Elena turned to him. You handled it better than most would. He looked at her sharply. Most people don't wake up and find out their cleaning staff is a trained intelligence operative. Former, she corrected. Or so I thought. The screen shifted, displaying documents, timelines, and surveillance footage years worth. Operation Mirror Fall, the voice continued. Objective, identify private sector power brokers with both capability and conscience. Individuals who would choose exposure over profit when pressured. Adrian laughed bitterly. So you staged a threat to my company. To my life. To observe your response, the voice said. You passed. Elena's stomach twisted. You used me. Yes, the voice replied. And you volunteered. Her fists clenched. I was told this was containment, not manipulation. You were told what you needed to hear. Adrian watched her carefully. Is that true? She didn't answer immediately. Then, quietly, I believed I was preventing something worse. I didn't know you were the test. The screens changed again, showing footage of Adrian ordering the lockdown reversed, escorting her out, activating the dead man release. Mr. Cross chose transparency over control, the voice said. That choice is rare. And dangerous, Adrian shot back. You've put a target on my back. Only if you refuse our offer. Elena looked between them. What offer? Joint oversight, the voice replied. You, Elena Ruiz, will be reinstated with full clearance. Mr. Cross will act as an external anchor. A civilian with reach and resources. Adrian's eyes narrowed. You want me inside your machine? We want you adjacent to it, the voice said. Close enough to influence. Far enough to remain independent. Silence fell. Elena stepped closer to Adrian. If you say no, they'll still watch you. They just won't warn you. He exhaled slowly. You're very calm about this. I'm not, she admitted. I'm just used to it. The voice interrupted. Decision window, 5 minutes. The screen displayed a countdown. Adrian ran a hand through his hair. You realize accepting this means my life is no longer mine. Elena met his gaze. It hasn't been since you built something worth taking. He studied her face. And yours? A faint, sad smile. I don't remember what normal feels like. The timer ticked down. Adrian turned toward the windows, looking out over the city he'd shaped, the people who worked for him, trusted him. They'll never know, he said. They'll benefit, Elena replied. He turned back. You stay. She hesitated, then nodded. If you want me to. He didn't miss the way she said it. Then I'm not doing this alone, Adrian said. He looked straight at the camera. I accept. On 2 conditions. The voice paused. State them. 1, Adrian said. No more tests that put innocent people at risk. Noted. And 2, he continued, she answers to me as much as you. Elena's head snapped toward him. Adrian. I'm not your handler, he said quietly. I'm your safeguard. The countdown stopped. Conditions accepted, the voice said. Welcome to the oversight tier. The screens went dark. Just like that, the invisible weight lifted. Elena let out a shaky breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Well, she muttered. That was abrupt. Adrian laughed softly, the tension finally cracking. Is it always like this? Yes, she said. Worse, usually. They stood there for a moment, the reality settling in. You should leave, Elena added. Sleep. Pretend tonight didn't happen. He shook his head. If I sleep, I'll start questioning whether this was real. She studied him. You okay? No, he said honestly. But I will be. That honesty surprised them both. Over the next few days, the city buzzed with rumors. Executives arrested. Corporations audited. Markets stabilizing after chaos no one fully understood. Hale Industries released a brief statement about internal restructuring. No names. No details. Elena returned to the building, but not as a maid. Her badge opened doors she'd only cleaned before. Some employees stared. Some whispered. Some didn't recognize her at all. She passed the old supply closet where she used to hide equipment and felt a strange ache. Adrian watched her from his office doorway. You don't miss it, he said. She glanced back. I miss the anonymity. You still have it, he replied. Just differently. They worked side by side in a quiet rhythm. Strategy meetings. Secure calls. Late nights. Trust built slowly. Carefully. One evening, as rain streaked the windows, Elena finally asked, Do you regret it? Adrian looked up from his screen. Choosing exposure? Yes. He thought for a moment. No. I regret how long it took me to realize power without accountability is just another kind of weakness. She nodded. You'd be surprised how few people learn that. He smiled faintly. You taught me. She stiffened. I didn't mean to. You did anyway. Silence settled, comfortable this time. Weeks later, a message came through her secure channel. New threat vector identified. Outside jurisdiction. Elena's posture changed instantly. Adrian noticed. That bad? She met his eyes. Worse. He stood. Then let's get ahead of it. She hesitated. This one won't be clean. When is it ever? He asked. They moved in sync, already understanding each other's roles. As they prepared, Adrian paused. Elena. Yes. Next time the alarms go off, he said, I want to be standing beside you when they do. She looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, she didn't feel alone in the shadows. Deal, she said. And somewhere deep in the systems that watched the world, a new variable was noted. If you've made it this far, take a second to like this video and share it because the final chapter brings consequences neither of them are ready for. The alert stayed on Elena's screen long after the system finished loading the details. She didn't need to read the entire briefing to know it was serious. The red classification marker at the top said enough. Outside jurisdiction, Adrian repeated, scanning over her shoulder. That usually means private armies or state actors pretending not to exist. Or both, Elena said quietly. This isn't a clean threat. It's messy. Human. Adrian leaned back, folding his arms. Talk to me. She took a breath. There's a network operating through domestic companies. They recruit quietly. Accountants. Engineers. Security contractors. They don't steal data. They steal people. Adrian's expression darkened. Trafficking of influence, she replied. They coerce, blackmail, or buy loyalty. Then they wait. And what do they want now? Elena tapped the screen. A profile appeared. A young woman. Early 20s. Intern badge. Nervous smile. Adrian frowned. She works here. Yes, Elena said. She doesn't know she's being groomed. How do you stop something like that without destroying her life? That's the problem, Elena said. You don't swoop in. You watch. You intercept quietly. Adrian exhaled slowly. You're asking me to let this happen under my roof. I'm asking you to trust the process, she replied. And trust me. He met her eyes. I already do. That gave her pause. They set the plan in motion carefully. No sudden changes. No alarms. Adrian ordered a routine audit. Elena blended back into the background, this time by choice. She watched the intern Maya over days. Casual conversations. Subtle questions. No pressure. One night, Elena found her crying in the break room. "I'm not in trouble, am I?" Maya asked, panicked. "No," Elena said gently, sitting beside her. "You're safe." Maya wiped her eyes. "Someone offered me help. Money. Connections. They said you'd understand." Elena's chest tightened. "What did you say?" "I said I needed time," Maya whispered. "It felt wrong." Elena nodded. "You did the right thing." She stood and offered a hand. "Come on. Let's talk to someone who can actually help you." Maya hesitated. "I don't want to lose my job." "You won't," Elena promised. "Not on my watch." Adrian listened as Elena explained everything later that night. "She's brave," he said. "She shouldn't have had to be," Elena replied. They moved fast after that. Quiet resignations. Sudden investigations. The network dissolved before it realized it had been exposed. But not before it noticed them. A week later, Adrian's car was run off the road. He survived. Barely. Elena arrived at the hospital before the doctors finished stitching him up. "You're not allowed to die," she said, voice shaking. "I just finished fixing your security." He smiled weakly. "You should see the other guy." Her composure finally cracked. "This is my fault." "No," Adrian said firmly. "This is the cost of doing something right." She sat beside him, gripping his hand like it was an anchor. "I won't let them touch you again," she said. "I know," he replied. "That's why I'm not afraid." The recovery was slow. Painful. Public. The media speculated. Adrian said nothing. Elena stayed close, sleeping in a chair beside his bed, always alert. One night, half asleep, he murmured, "You never run." She smiled sadly. "I learned early that running just makes you a target." He squeezed her hand. "You don't have to be alone anymore." She didn't answer. But she didn't pull away either. Months passed. Threats faded. New systems held. And quietly, without ceremony, Elena stopped being invisible. She still moved carefully. Still watched shadows. But now, when she walked into a room, people listened. And Adrian? He learned to lead differently.
Not louder. Not higher. But wider. On the anniversary of the night the alarms first sounded, they stood together on the balcony overlooking the city. "Funny," Adrian said. "I used to think power was about control." "And now?" Elena asked. "Now I think it's about who you protect when no one's watching." She nodded. "That's the difference between a boss and a leader." He looked at her. "You staying?" She met his gaze. "As long as there's work worth doing." He smiled. "Then we're just getting started." If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and share it because stories like this remind us that courage often hides in plain sight. The city looked different from the balcony that night. Not because the buildings had changed or the traffic below had slowed, but because for the first time in years, Elena wasn't scanning for exits or shadows. She was just standing there. Adrian noticed. "You're smiling," he said. She caught herself and laughed softly. "That obvious?" "Yes," he replied. "You never smile unless something's wrong or you're about to disappear." "Well," she said, turning toward him, "nothing's wrong. And I'm not going anywhere." He studied her face, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. "You know, I spent most of my life believing I had to be untouchable to survive." "And now?" she asked. "Now I know I just needed the right person willing to stand next to me when things got ugly." She looked away, emotion tightening her chest. "You make it sound simple." "It wasn't," he said quietly. "But it was worth it." Their hands brushed. Neither of them pulled back. Life didn't slow down after that, but it softened. Elena moved into a permanent role that didn't exist on any organizational chart. Officially, she was a consultant. Unofficially, she was the conscience of the company. People didn't know her past, but they felt her presence. Systems became fairer. Decisions became cleaner. The quiet fear that once lived in the hallways disappeared. And Adrian? He stopped locking himself behind walls. He ate lunch with interns. He listened more than he spoke. He slept better. One evening, months later, he found Elena in the kitchen of his penthouse, barefoot, sleeves rolled up, arguing with a stubborn jar. "This thing is sealed by pure evil," she muttered. He laughed, walked over and twisted it open effortlessly. She stared at him. Show off. Years of opening impossible deals, he said smugly. She smiled, then suddenly grew quiet. What is it? He asked. She took a breath. I don't know how to live a normal life. He leaned against the counter. Good. Neither do I. She laughed softly. What if I mess this up? He stepped closer. Then we'll mess it up together. That was the moment she kissed him. Not dramatic. Not rushed. Just honest. The proposal wasn't grand. No cameras. No crowd. Just a quiet evening, rain tapping against the windows, when Adrian reached for her hand and said, I don't want a life where you're a chapter. I want the whole story. She didn't cry. She didn't hesitate. Yes, she said, smiling. I choose this. They kept the wedding small. No billionaires. No politicians. No secrets. Just a garden outside the city, sunlight filtering through trees, soft music, and people who mattered. Elena wore a simple dress. Adrian wore a suit he didn't care about. As she walked toward him, he forgot every deal he'd ever closed, every battle he'd ever fought. All he saw was the woman who had walked into his life, pretending to be invisible, and ended up changing everything. When it was time to speak, Elena went first. I spent years believing my value was tied to how well I could hide, she said, voice steady but full. You didn't just see me. You trusted me. You gave me a future I never thought I deserved. Adrian swallowed hard. You taught me, he said, that strength isn't standing alone. It's letting someone see you when you're at your worst and choosing them anyway. They exchanged vows written in quiet nights and shared battles. When they kissed, the applause felt distant. What mattered was the look they shared. The kind that said, we survived. Later, as the sun dipped low, Elena stood with Adrian, watching guests laugh and dance. You ever miss the shadows? He asked. She thought about it. Sometimes. But I don't belong there anymore. He squeezed her hand. Good. She leaned into him. You know, if someone had told me years ago that I'd end up here, I wouldn't have believed them either, he said. They laughed. The world would keep spinning. Problems would come. But they'd face them together. Not as a boss and a spy. Not as a billionaire and a maid. But as partners. As equals. As family. If this story made you feel something, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment where you're watching from, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that sometimes the people we overlook become the greatest part of our lives. Because love, like courage, often shows up quietly and changes everything.